next game on the list, which is the 8-9, also right next to it's the battle to play Auburn in the second round. And to me, it's a pretty decent matchup, I would say. UConn and Oklahoma at Big East Bend is wearing a usually illegal color and logo combination in a lot of probably in 49 states, but it's working for him today. And Oklahoma 5.5 point underdogs currently to UConn, totals 147.5. It looks like the late game in what place? In Raleigh. Exactly. Sounds like Lexington. In Raleigh. Yes, thank you.
So UConn has covered now 12 NCAA tournament games in a row. Griffin likes to say that I just pick them every game as part of my 11-0 best bet streak. They only played 6 games. I only picked them 3 of those games. It was the final 3 games. Um, Oklahoma's shown a little bit of pop at the end of this year. That was a good close against Kentucky, one of the best minute and 30 seconds they've probably played all season. Connecticut, they still don't play defense. They play zero defense,
What do you
zero
mean?
perimeter.
Dan Hurley is their head coach.
Yeah, for now. Um, maybe the Iowa job. Who
Ooh.
knows?
Well, Indiana just filled. Sorry. Maybe
Yeah.
West Virginia. Come to a real conference. Okay. All
And
right.
Huggins goes to UConn. Um,
Wow. Oh.
so yeah, this number's climbed up to 5.5. I think it opened at 4.
I'll trust you on that. I don't really have I didn't do a great job. I tried to make lines right as the bracket was getting announced, but I didn't really go through and capture what was out there. So I cannot answer that question at the moment.
So I thought you kind of turned a corner when they did the UConn thing versus Villanova to end that game. And that was like the first UConn thing I've seen basically all season. They kind of did a UConn thing versus
At
Gonzaga.
Big East Bend, what is the UConn thing for those who've not been listening to the Need for Speed's College Basketball podcast for the 2 years it's been in existence?
The UConn thing, go back to last year and watch the Illinois UConn game in the Sweet 16 and watch the beginning of the second half because that's the UConn thing.
Okay, for people that don't have that ability, because I don't know how anyone would
So
be able
it's
to do
just a
that.
monster run, just a monster run, decapitate your opponent.
Usually,
Um,
right at the start of the second half, it seemed to me.
Yeah. So they did that at the end of the second half versus Nova, but then they go to Creighton. They play Creighton in the second round of Big East tournament, Storrs South, and play zero defense in the first half. Creighton was shooting, I think, 70% from the floor for most of the first half, and then it was too much for them to come back from. So I'm not going to bet UConn here. I don't think these teams are very good either defensively. I'm going to go over 147 and a half.
That makes sense. I like UConn enough. Excuse me, I like Oklahoma enough that
Ooh,
ooh what? Ooh what? Ooh what?
you're
What?
going to fade Hurley. 12 and 0 last 2 years.
Yeah, those teams could defend, as I think you already mentioned. I don't really see it from these teams, I must say, or this team. It seems like the UConn thing doesn't exist besides what they did to Villanova, but I can't I'm not really sure how I can explain that. I wish I was watching that game a little bit more intently because Villanova looked pretty good. We're ahead I think at halftime, and then things kind of went the wrong way. But to me, the UConn like wins come from solo ball, shooting the lights out of the ball or the lights out of the entire gym at the Bradley Center, formerly Bradley Center, now the Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee, and then also what Liam McNeely did at Creighton and Omaha, dropping 38 in his like first game back from a ankle injury. UConn seems healthy. They seem like they can score. So I don't dislike your over lean here, but I think Oklahoma, I mean, Jeremiah Fears has a lot of chat about being a top pick in the lottery. So, and I think we've seen how awesome he can be, or maybe is. I don't really love Porter Moser at all. It's hard enough for me to say his name, and I don't really think his back cut type of strategy works as well against the athletes. But just the UConn defense hasn't been enough for me. So I'll take the 5.5 on Oklahoma.